at the cross, naturally and spiritually. When Jesus hung on the cross at Calvary, there were dual views of what was happening. One view was of the natural, and the other view was of the spiritual. Let's examine what was seen and what happened in each. The natural view of the cross. Jesus was stripped of his vesture, clothing, laid down on the cross, and nailed to the cross, probably in his wrist and the bottom of his hands. The cross was probably erected, and he hung there. Matthew chapter 27, verse 35 says, "And they crucified him, and parted his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots." Naturally, people probably saw the great miracle worker's life coming to an end or a close. They mocked Jesus at the cross. Mark 15, verse 29 through 32 says, "And they that passed by railed on him, wagging their heads and saying, Ah, thou that destroyest the temple and buildest it in 3 days, save thyself and come down from the cross." Likewise, also the chief priests mocking said among themselves with the scribes, "He saved others, himself he cannot save. Let Christ the King of Israel descend now from the cross, that we may see and believe." And they that were crucified with him reviled him. In the natural, they heard Jesus cry out, and then they saw him die. Matthew 27:50 says, Jesus, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. The spiritual view of the cross. Demonic entities that influenced people to do evil stood by, encouraging the people to ill-treat Jesus, to discourage him from going to the cross. Why would people who saw Jesus raise people from the dead, heal the sick, cause a balm to be on the hearts of the brokenhearted, why would these people, even if you didn't know him, you heard of him, why would you be angry at him? Why would you want to see him crucified? It doesn't make natural sense, does it? But there was spiritual phenomena happening. Demonic entities stood by and encouraged him. Scream at him. He thinks he's God. Why can't he get himself down? And they took those verbalizations and spoke them into the natural. Let's go on. Because sometimes you don't understand the things that you're encouraged to say is not from your heart, it's from a spirit. These demonic spirits inspired the people to come against and mock Jesus. The angels probably stood ready for Jesus' command to help him come down off the cross. Can you imagine? The host of the army of the Lord. Can you imagine Jesus, the head of that army, sitting there while all of his militia stood by, able to overthrow the enemy with greater strength and greater might? They stood by and watched him. I love this. Jesus said that he could just ask the Father and he would send angels. Didn't he say that? Matthew 26 verse 53 through 54 says, "Thinkest thou that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels? But how then shall the scripture be fulfilled, that thus it must be? If the angels would bear him up or catch him before he kick or dash his foot against the stone and fall, how much more must they have been at the ready to deliver him from crucifixion?" Luke 9 or 4 verse 10 through 12 it should say. When Jesus died and gave up the ghost, the spirit realm saw something different. They saw his body release his soul and spirit. So when you die, what happens? Immediately. Not at the funeral, not at the burial. Immediately, the soul and the spirit of that person that looks just like them immediately jumps out of the body. It's no longer there. The body is laying there without the programming, the soul and the spirit. So when he hung on the cross and said, "Father, it is finished," Immediately, he stepped out of his body. Well, didn't he fall because he was up in the air? No, he didn't. The spirit realm does not function under the laws of the natural realm. Gravity had no effect on him. Let's go on. His body lay there, yet his spirit and soul was fully functional. This all happened at the cross and not at the grave. As soon as his body ceased to function, his spirit leaped out and headed straight to hell and paradise, the bosom of Abraham. In the grave, naturally and spiritually. As there are two views of the cross, there are also two very distinct views of what happened in the grave or in the earth. The physical body seemed to be at rest, yet the spirit man had great activity. Now, where is hell? Can somebody tell me? Hell is in the lower parts of the earth. So we're dealing with a law that I coined the law of dual existing dimensions. Alright? So we have dual, because we know in the natural, the earth has what in it? Molten rock, lava, hot, right? But in the spirit realm, another dimension, yet keeping the same space in the spirit, it's hot, it's rock, it's sulfur based, right? But it's a little different. Let's go on. The natural view of the grave. The natural view was that Jesus had died and his body was taken away to be buried in a tomb. Matthew 27 verse 57 through 60 gives us the natural view. It reads, "And when the even was come, there came a rich man of Arimathea named Joseph, who also himself was Jesus' disciple. He went to Pilate and begged the body of Jesus. Then Pilate commanded the body to be delivered. And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in clean linen cloth and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had hewn out in the rock. And he rolled the great stone to the door of the sepulchre and departed." So that was the natural view. Now here is when we get busy. The spiritual view in the grave, the earth. It is here that we see that people exist past physical death. So if you're doing crazy stuff and you don't think it's going to catch up with you, it's all recorded. Everything. Everything. That secret sin, you're on the phone doing stuff, saying stuff, record it. Nobody sees it. Remember, there's a law of dual existing dimensions, and angelic hosts are always there. Serious, isn't it? Some of you are going to clean up some stuff tonight. Or they sponge some stuff from the eternal books. Father, forgive me. Jesus' soul and spirit did not stay in his physical body. Rather, it went to hell or paradise, which is a spiritual place in the earth. Ephesians 4:9 says, "Now that he ascended, what is it but that he also descended first into the lower parts of the earth?" All right. They're not talking the tomb. Because some of you say, that's the grave. No. You're talking physical. It's time to look into the spiritual aspects of things. Hell is a spiritual place located in the earth. King David, functioning in a prophetic role, made a declaration about the Messiah who was to die and go to hell. In Acts chapter 2, verse 27 through 31, it tells of King David's prophetic word. It reads, "Because thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, neither wilt thou suffer thine Holy One to see corruption." Who are they talking about? Jesus. So Jesus' body never decayed. If they had left his body in the grave forever, it would still never have decayed. What decays a body? No. Sin.